was school board meeting.
Oh, and you forgot?
No, I didn't forget.
Oh, did you? Oh, right.
I turned it on.
Okay. Let's go ahead. 6:31.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson, Van Sickle.
Yes.
All right. Anybody want to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the tie?
I'm gonna say girls. Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor, Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. All right. We've got some presentations.
Yeah, so I guess I want to start out the meeting just by letting everybody know that May is School Board Appreciation Month. And for those that are here and also for our board, I just want to let you guys know that you guys are dedicated leaders to help serve our community and our school system. And honestly, it's without compensation. A lot of people are not aware of that. But you donate your personal time, your energy, in overseeing our school system, making sure that we are doing what's good and right for students. So you positively impact not only Ogden, but the state of Iowa. And I'm so appreciative of all that you guys do. So thank you on behalf of Ogden Community Schools. Thank you for serving as a school board member. A small token appreciation. These flowers are actually from students. It's our FFA program. So they grew those in our greenhouse, and those are for you guys to take home. In addition, ISD provided us a certificate just recognizing your guys' service. So again, thank you so much for all that you guys do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody have any comments? All right. I'm almost there. You can go ahead, then.
You want me to start?
Yes.
Winter activities.
Okay. Yep, I am here to honor some of our winter activity participants in extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So we had a pretty successful winter in a variety of our different activities, and so I want to read off a lot of the names from the successes that students had in Ogden. We've got a couple of them here. Spring is a crazy busy time with a lot of conflict, so we weren't able to get a majority of these individuals here, but I'll be sure to give them their certificate and explain that they received a high honor from the school board and are recognized for their efforts. So in the FFA program, Kira Garrison was one of 12 students in the state selected on the nominating committee for FFA officials for the state of Iowa. Brock Crossman received his Iowa FFA degree. He was also an FFA Academic Achievement recipient. Sydney King also received her Iowa FFA degree and is an FFA Academic Achievement recipient. And Connor Moe is an FFA Academic Achievement recipient as well. In the FCCLA program, Lola Fredrickson received gold and qualified for nationals in early childhood education. Levi Bernard received gold and qualified for nationals in repurpose and redesign. Glenda Moody received the NLC Scholarship Award, and Jane Bernard, and I want to explain this how Levicki explained it to me. There's hundreds of thousands of FCCLA members throughout the United States. Jane Bernard was selected as a top 15 member nationwide. And then actually, Jessica Levicki was selected as a top 15 advisor nationwide as well. In our speech program, we had several individuals that qualified for individual speech. Those individuals were Jack Downey, Lily Joseph, Lola Fredrickson, Maddie Ellis, Eliza Knoll, Glenda Moody, and Katie Brailsford. We also are recognizing our jazz band team. They qualified for the Iowa Jazz Championships. Mr. Britton explained this to me. It would be the same as one of our teams qualifying for the state tournament in athletics. So it's a very prestigious honor for a jazz band. This means that they were one of the top 15 two-way bands in the state. The individuals on the jazz band were Everett Petty, Hazel Fredrickson, Addie Trussler, Tatum Graydon, Isabel Holt, Elena Wilson, Ava Woolwin, Greta Seiler, Amani Swan, Asher Horde, Vanden Rosa, Cale Dozier, Beck Anderson, Gavin Seiler, Owen Bergstrom, August Schroeder, Ryder Graham, Thomas Bergstrom, Brady Van Sickle, Jacob Thompson, Samantha Lass, and Henry Russo. We also had some individuals earn all-conference honors for boys wrestling. Riley Saunders, Dylan Moe, and Cash Williams all received all-conference honors. And then we have some participants from our girls wrestling team here tonight. Our second team all-conference recipients for girls wrestling were Sydney King, Sophie Seligman, Tori Alexander, Michaela Alexander, and Grace Hammer. And our first team all-conference wrestler was Rylan Casey.
Hey.
And that is our
Good done?
done?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank
All
you.
yours, buddy.
We'll get those to students.
Yep.
Thanks, Reed. That was good stuff.
Thank you for
Thank you, guys.
preparing that and recognizing the success of our winter activities programs.
All right. DCAP?
Yeah, so DCAP Derek is here actually to present more information about what is the district career academic plan. It's actually some Iowa code, and it's some things that all public schools are required to do. And Derek is really dived in to learn a little bit more about what this is specifically for Ogden Community Schools, and he wants to share a little bit more with the board tonight.
Let's do it. Oh, there you go. Just that one. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys don't want to stick around for decaf?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, so as Mr. Heyer said, the decaf is something that our school creates annually, and then we're also supposed to present to the school board. We're presenting in May. I wanted to present last month, but we were obviously on the senior trip during that time. And in fact, in future years, I'd like to probably present a little bit sooner. Our decaf is typically due end of March, and I'd like to be able to present to you before we present it to, or before we turn it into the state. But just a little bit of background. So in 2016, Iowa legislation created Iowa House File 2392, which actually introduced the district career and academic plan and the individualized career and academic plan. And the idea was to create a framework for integrating career exploration more into K-12 education. There were 4 components to the original legislation. One of them was the individual career and academic plan, the ICAP, and that is for students that are 8 through 12 to go into our career information system, put together their academic plan with the idea of creating themselves or putting themselves in the place to be successful post-secondary school, whether that be going into the career field or doing post-secondary education. The second component from the original legislation was the DCAP, which is the district's comprehensive plan that basically just says what are we doing to help our students reach their academic and career goals that they're setting forth through their ICAP. The third component was they created a collaboration with RPP, and that is your regional planning and partnerships. I've been to 4 RPP meetings this year where we get together, and it's districts coming together to collaborate on how do we increase our students' exposure to various careers, working through the DCAP process, and then also increasing and understanding what work-based learning is. Especially with work-based learning, they have new legislation on what that means. And then the last one is an emphasis on increasing work-based learning opportunities for our students. Recently, they just had House File 316 that pushes this down into the middle school level. It's actually 5 through 12 was what the new legislation says. But we're actually going further. We're going into a new career information system that's going to go K-12. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit. The aims of the new legislation, just the update to the original one from 2016, again, to introduce career exploration at an earlier level for our students, and then also to recognize student achievement through industry-recognized certificates. So how do we talk about having a student graduate with 2 pieces of paper? You have your high school diploma, but maybe you have an OSHA 40 certification or some other a ServSafe certification. So you're graduating with 2 credentials as opposed to just the diploma. One of the things that we do during this is we review the prior year's evaluation rubric. I'm going to start by just showing you what an example rubric looks like to give you an idea. And this is what last year's rubric would have been. It's broken into 9 components, and you can score anywhere from a 0, which means that it's not present, to a 3, which is advanced, not advanced. Advanced. And then each component has a set of criteria and a rubric based on where you are. Now, during this entire process, we worked with Heartland and our RPPs. They've said that this is where we are shooting for. If you get to advanced, you are above and beyond where you should be. Ultimately, you're shooting to be in that proficient level. And it goes through each of the different pieces. So, if you were to look at, and I'll be honest with you, if you were to look at last year's score, it's out of 36. Really, if you're where you're supposed to be at the end goal, you're looking at a 24 out of 36. Our last year's score put us at 10 out of 36. And I saw that original number in the fall when I first saw our rubric, and I thought, oh my goodness. And then I went to our first conference administrator meeting and found out that we were right in the middle of where our conference was. In fact, I listened to a presentation from a larger school where they have a person that's dedicated just to DCAP and incorporating that within their larger school district. And they were kind of presenting on model methods in terms of implementation. And their score was a 16 out of 36. So while 10 out of 36 isn't where we want to be by any means, it's a starting point. And then it's also a place for us to grow on. One of the things that our PP did tell us is that the goal for each school district would be to grow by 3 points each year. They use, the analogy of you can't eat the elephant in one bite. So you're making small steps in the right direction. Our areas of strengths from last year's rubric is we had a really good DCAP team. I can let you look at the DCAP if you want to browse through it. You don't want to read all of it because it's 57 pages. But the DCAP team consists of teachers on staff. It consists of CTE teachers. We have special education representation. We also have we have a post-secondary administrator representation. We have businesses and things like that. So that's a pretty lengthy deal. We actually scored a 3. 3 of our 10 points came from that. The other categories we were scored lower, but again, it's that starting. When looking at part of the big deal, we're using data to drive where we're wanting to go. In that page on page probably 3 and 4 and 5, it gives a lot of data points. I'll show you just 3 that we used, but it also talks about goals for next year. So I'm going to show you 3 of the data points that are in that document, even though there's a lot more, and then how that kind of led us into the goals that we are going forward. So I don't know if you've seen this graph. This graph comes from the post-secondary readiness report, and it's got different graphs on here. So if we're looking at it, this top dark blue line is the percentage of our graduating kids that have post-secondary intent. So they tell us we want to go into some kind of post-secondary education setting. We've ranged anywhere from 73 to 90%. This lighter blue line that goes down here, and I'm not sure how that one worked. Actually, I can tell you. It's how many kids actually enroll in post-secondary education. So this one's kind of an odd one. That year we had 75% of our kids told us they wanted to. 79% of them enrolled in some kind of post-secondary education. Usually that line's below. So 2022, 73% had post-secondary intent, 60% enrolled in post-secondary institution. The third line, the gray line, is who persisted into a second year. So they've gone through they not only enrolled, they've completed the first year, they're going into like a sophomore year of post-secondary education. And then the light blue line, this is the last data that the website gives us, is how many completed their post-secondary education within 6 years. Do we understand how that process works? I'm not sure why the website doesn't give us initial data beyond that. The other 2 data points I wanted to point out were actually from our Iowa School Performance Profile. So if you go to, it's basically like a district report card. You can go. I studied it extensively when I was looking into Ogden and various schools in Iowa. We were potentially moving. One of them is, this says percentage by race because there's other bars below. This is just all of our students. how many students graduate with college credit. We have 95.65% of our students, and I believe this would have been 2023. 95.65%. This diamond bar here is 68.99% as the state average. When you look at the second one, work-based learning, we had 19.57% of our kids had participated in a work-based learning opportunity, while the state average was 25.47. When I look at those three data points, one, we have we're outpacing the state when it comes to college credit leaving high school. We are underperforming. Only 20% of our kids are getting a work-based learning opportunity. But if you're looking at 60% of our kids are enrolling in a second year of post-secondary, there's 40% of our kids that we're missing an opportunity to potentially spark their interest in post-secondary careers or education. What that all leads to is, part of our examples doing well. Our students have college credit. We talked about that. We actually provide more work-based learning opportunities than I believe that 20% mark would show. Part of my DCAP process was to learn where we are, because I felt like that 10 out of 36 really didn't accurately describe where Ogden High School is. The amount of work-based learning opportunities that we were able to document and then accurately code within our information system, or within Infinite Campus, has increased significantly. So I'm hoping that number goes up. We have our CCTC, so our College and Career Transition Coordinator in place. It's Sharice Nave. We share her with Boone. She is outstanding in terms of helping our kids find post-secondary interest. Our IJAC program is going really well. We made a great hire this year. We have a hire in there. And then our CTE student organizations. Obviously, FCCLA is exceeding. You heard how many FFA acknowledgments that we got. We're looking at adding DECA, making sure that we're building our DECA program. So those are some of the things that we're doing well. Focus for the DCAP this year. So some of those data points that I show you, what's our goal going into next year? The first one is to expand collective responsibility for addressing DCAP throughout this year. And I'll tell you, this one's on me. I did not know the DCAP. It was a learning process for me. And so that document, I went out and found the answers and I put the whole document together. And that is not how the DCAP should be put together. It should be a team process throughout the year, and it should be starting in now for next year's DCAP process and a process throughout the year. It was probably my second DCAP meeting, which was maybe in November, that I started to feel like I had an idea of what DCAP was, and then I started putting that together. I'll show you where we scored, where we think we're going to score this year, and how this could affect that. So more people helping create DCAP and putting that process together just so we have it done correct. One of the things, establishing relationships with local businesses. Again, that's a focus. That increases our work-based learning opportunities for our kids. Again, we're being outpaced by the state in terms of average. And then we're actually integrating a new career information system. We've used My Academic Plan, which has been a free program through the state of Iowa for, I don't know how long we've used it.
I'm sure it's been in place since the law changed in 2016.
So this is a program that is no longer being updated, and it's kind of, it doesn't mean a lot. It's a hoop to jump through for our kids because it's the same thing every single year. They're talking about what classes they want to take, what do they potentially want to do, and then just making changes. We're moving to Zella, which actually starts all the way down at kindergarten, where they're doing some fun exploration of what careers mean. When they get to the middle school, they start to maybe find some interest pieces, and they dive deeper into potential careers within those. And at the high school, it's really putting together a plan of, this is what I'm interested in, or at least this is the field that I could potentially be interested in. How do I get there? So that's our focus for next year, is to implement those pieces. In previous years, the state has scored our DCAP, so that 10 out of 36 was scored by the state. They have a new model where we did peer scoring, and then the state reviews the peer scoring. Again, I told you that the goal for the RPP was 3 points per. I think we're going to be at a 14 this year, which I
came back and had a conversation with Mr. Hire I was not very happy about, but we were missing one key component in I think 7 or 8 of the 9 categories, and that was the reflection piece. If I would have tagged in a reflection piece, it would have moved us from a 1 in a lot of those categories to a 2. So we are scoring 14, which is a 4-point increase, but we definitely left a lot of meat on the bone, and that was because I did the decap on my own, and I shouldn't have. Really, is what it is. Having more eyes on the project, more thoughts going in would help. Now, they do make sure that we know this is not an evaluation tool. It's not something that goes on any kind of report in terms of school effectiveness. It's more of a guideline for schools to help improve the process they have. That was a lot, and I went really fast because I know you're.
Does the teachers initiate, or does the student initiate a particular direction?
That's a good question. So one of the things with the Zello process is going to be where the kids get to go in and they do different interest inventories. So they take personality style, they do learning style, they do interest inventories. What do you like? What do you not like? And then Zello will actually kick out different careers that could potentially fit within them. That maybe exposes them to careers that they didn't know existed. Right now, our current process with MAP, since it's 8 through 12, our 2 counselors work together with our 8th graders to go through the process of starting my academic plan. And they go through, again, some of those same interest inventories, but it's more, it's not all integrated into one system. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
So to add to, thank you. I think that's great. One of the things that it really focuses on is self-understanding. So the student really dives in to understand what are their strengths, what are their interests, so that they start to identify themselves. From there, it goes into career exploration. So really just giving them a deeper understanding of all the different careers that you might be able to go into, career cluster areas, etc. And then they also do some post-secondary exploration. So, hey, I'm interested in this. Here are the career pathways I'm interested in. How do I actually go? Do I go to a post-secondary? Can I get into an apprenticeship program? Do I go into the military? They're able to do all those things. And then it's really career, post-secondary career decision. So those are a lot of the things that they identify. We are doing a number of things, and what they say, in order to get that point, if you're chasing after the points, after we maybe do a career fair, sitting down with our students and doing a reflection on, so what did you learn by participating in this career fair? Or you have maybe a guest speaker in your classroom, a business class, and they're talking business analytics. You do that, and then you actually have the kids. So how did that inform your decision on what you maybe want to pursue in the future? And I think a lot of those reflection elements are maybe what we're missing. We're doing some of the number of the activities, which are good. We're just not maybe closing the
well, and that's where I feel like I dropped the ball a little bit by not incorporating more people. Is I think a lot of classes do those pieces. We just didn't have it linked in to our profile. So, I don't think we have speakers that come in and then we don't use that information. There is some kind of reflection, some kind of application piece to it. It wasn't in, the decap that was presented. It's a matter of, one, if we're not doing them, starting to implement them, and then whatever it is we're using as a reflective piece, just throwing it in that document.
Who's doing the stats on a 6 years out, whether or not they completed a post-secondary? Is that Department of Ed tracking that?
I think they're tracking student ID numbers. Yeah, I don't know that for sure, but I think that's what they're doing.
That's awesome data. I was just curious how accurate it is. I assume it's accurate.
To do that longitudinal study to be able to follow where those students are, I think it is based off of student ID number.
Have you ever found any information on what causes the kids that graphs we have who went for 1 year, dropped out? What was the cause? I mean, what have you read, or what's the biggest deal? Are they not prepared? Are they overwhelmed, underfunded?
One of the things that we're looking at implementing, we have a workplace readiness class. We're looking at implementing on something. I can't remember the name of Mr. Howard. You might remember, but it's basically an introductory to college course. How do you take a college class? It's that transition is tough. I think it's there's probably a lot of different ways you can answer that. Because a lot of different circumstances. We're working on how do we prepare our kids not only to be successful in high school, but how do we make sure that they have the skills necessary that when they don't have their advisory teacher checking on them weekly or somebody that's there.
But the 95% that are taking college credit and getting an introduction in some way, would that be correct?
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thanks, Derek. Do you want to give him a break and go first, or are you just on a roll, Derek, and want to keep rolling?
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
So just since the last time we had a board meeting, we've talked a lot this year about letters training, but our staff completed year one last Wednesday. So a big accomplishment for people that dug in for that for just the time and the learning. They now have a couple weeks where they end up going back to taking an assessment over the entire first year of learning. And in order to be listed as mastering with that letters training and science of reading, they need to score 80% or higher. So kind of digging into that work from that, and I'll share a little bit more when we start next year. We have some systems changes that we're going to start immediately next year with kindergarten through second. So just layering on some additional routines and procedures for students around the science of reading so we can really build that through our entire elementary school. But knowing that from that learning, some changes will be happening to instruction at the elementary level. We have worked as a district. Mr. Heyer has led the Happiness Advantage professional development each month as a district. And one of the things that he shared with us was around Ogden Gibbs during volunteer week. So each grade level kind of took that on the end of April, doing something to give back to the community, anywhere from moving boxes to going out and thanking people in the community by taking thank you kits, to delivering flowers, to making tie blankets to send to walk over to the manor. Some kindergarten students, we had some families help build one of the free libraries where they painted and then collected books for it. So a lot of ways that we take some of our youngest students in the district and be able to show that they too can give back to the community in a positive way. Or oftentimes we're asking for help within our school system and opportunity for them to give back to others. So just appreciated both staff and our families for digging in. And something that I think they found that they want to do more often, even outside of that designated week, to be able to give back to our community. Last Tuesday, we tried a family engagement night in the spring, and we've typically done that in the winter or earlier in the year, and we still had a great attendance. We tried to check people in as they were coming just to kind of help us check our success rate, and I think we had 75% of our students and then their family members come. And we know that there was a lot of things going on, from softball and baseball to dance pictures, but I think families made that commitment to come, whether it was for the book fair, to get something from the grill outside, to miniature golf, to bingo. But it's great to kind of step back and watch both our families and staff and just enjoying the time together, whether people were stopping in for a few minutes or staying for the entire time. That was exciting to be able to see. We wrapped up our ISAS testing at the end of April, and I think students worked, we were reflecting as a building team, students worked really hard at that and took it serious, and happy to kind of see some of our data coming back and looking at that from the beginning. And then our leadership team will take a deeper dive into that to not only look at proficiency levels, but are we ensuring that all of our students are growing from year to year. The challenge with that is we wrapped up ISAS, took about a week off, and now we're into our spring screening data. So sometimes we look at, is our data sets aligning from one testing set to another, and does the alignment of our testing windows kind of impact or increase maybe some testing fatigue? So just kind of looking on we're doing a lot of assessing and are we still getting that instruction in at the time. But stopping before the end of the year and really looking at students' data and interventions to be set up so we're ready to go right when the school year starts and being able to help transition our students that are leaving the elementary and going to the middle school. This is the last week of Mileage Club, and I think if you talk to somebody at the elementary, it's something we will definitely continue to do. Students are running at our lunch recess, and as of today, we're right at about 2,200 miles for the last 6 weeks of lunch recess, and they are machines running around. We have a dirt path now out back, so we might have to work on putting some dirt and some seed down. But kids have really enjoyed that. What we are excited about is on Friday we have field day, and we will have between 25 and 30 students that have completed a marathon during their lunch recess. So they will receive a special T-shirt for participating in that. But we have middle school and high school distance runners that are going to partner with our students to run the mile at the end of field day, and which I think is a really big accomplishment for we have somebody in every grade level that will be running the mile, but I think it's another great opportunity for our elementary students to connect with some students here, both at the middle school and high school, and they think that is a really big deal to be off of our dirt track in the back and to be on the big track with older students. So excited for everybody that's involved with that. End of the year feels like we have had a lot of different field trips, but just kind of wanted to list those out. We talk about the experiences that we try to create for our students. So we have had 5th graders head to the Capitol recently. 4th grade went to Living History Farms. 3rd grade did some science learning at Don Williams. Our preschoolers have gone to the Des Moines Children's Museum and the Arboretum to kind of continue some of their work. We've had 1st grade do some learning about Kate Shelley, so they were able to go to the library for a presentation and then go see the bridge. And then 2nd grade is heading next week to the Fort Museum. So just really being able to take that learning outside of the classroom, and excited that our teachers have spent time being able to do that. Last thing is last week we spent time celebrating the amazing staff that we have at both buildings, and just can't tell you enough the amazing people that we get to work with on a daily basis. I think from the Bulldog Ball, we had a principal for the day that spent the day a few weeks ago, and I think he summed it up best. I was asking him what the best part of the day was. So we got to meet with Mr. Heyer. He did walk with the chief of police. He walked classrooms. He did a rounding conversation with the teacher, some duties, made some positive phone calls. But at the end, I was like, what was the best? And his quote was, Mrs. Krause, you have the greatest job. You get to work with amazing kids and have an unbelievable staff. Your day couldn't get better. You do this stuff. So I think that just sums up, I think, the people that I get to work with from the BOC.
Nice.
Anybody have any comments, questions? Thanks, Amy.
We're kind of in it this week at the high school, middle school. So tomorrow night we have 612 music concert. Excited about that. Wednesday night we'll have class night with the graduate parade that goes around town. We'll go get that out. Thursday we host district track, which is a monster. So there's a lot of prepping going on for that. Reed's done a wonderful job preparing for that. Friday we get to host Bill Mullen's Field Day. So that's been our first day here to get to experience that. Having some kids over from the elementary building and watching them perform. And then obviously Sunday's graduation, and 8th grade we have recognition that following Monday. So the next 7 days we got a lot going on. Been excited about hitting some of these milestones. A couple of fun things. Mr. Berger took a lot of our students to the conference art show, and we performed really well. We had a 2nd place finish, a 3rd place finish, and numerous honorable mentions. And they were excited about some of the workshops that they were able to participate in. I went to my first ever Roger Britton jazz band dance a week and a half ago. I tell you what, we have talented kids. Mr. Britton talked a little bit that night how they kind of were shorted a little bit in terms of preparation because of other commitments, but they sounded good. It was fun to see alumni come and play a set of jazz and people dancing and having a good time. We talked a little bit in the presentation about wanting to increase our work-based learning opportunities for kids. I think I talked a couple months ago about Mr. Hire and I going over and touring at Cruck Heating and Plumbing. A couple weeks ago, we were able to send 10 high school kids over there and tour their facility. Today, we had eighth graders go over and tour their facility too. And both groups came back. 3 or 4 of them came finding me saying, "You telling me I can go over there and earn some college credit while I make some money or while I do some well?" Yeah, there's possibilities. So I think I'm generating some excitement. We want to again increase those pathways and try to create more pipelines into more industry. So that's been a good one to start with. In the last couple of weeks, Tanner, Sydney, and Jude have all had signing days with letters of intent, which are always fun days to celebrate our kids and their hard work. Golf and track have been doing really well. Track has had a lot of medals recently. Or sorry, golf has. And then track, the girls' track team broke 2 school records on Friday night at our home meet. One of them was a 48-year-old record. Dakota broke 800 meters. It was set 48 years ago. So she was so excited when she came across the finish line. That was fun. Last week we had 5th graders in the building to come over, and they sat in on a panel with 6th and 7th grade students that were answering questions for them. So they all came in with eyes like this. We answered a lot of questions, and our 6th and 7th grade kids did fantastic. They were very real about their answers, and they talked like adults for some of them. You could tell they had heard some of the phrases they were using as they were talking with the 5th graders. And then those students were able to give tours around the building, kind of give them an idea of what the building looks like. So I'm excited to have 5th graders in the building. Last week we sent AP government students to take their AP test over at the Leonard Good Center. So we're excited about seeing what those results are. It's a stressful time for them, but I'm sure they did well. And then, like Amy said, FastBridge and ISAST data, we're starting to get preliminary ISAST data, looking through that. So things that are exciting in terms of numbers, but also things that we need to look deeper into so we can figure out what our direction is. And we're still in the midst of finishing up FastBridge. And then the last thing that I had, we implemented a new system called eHall Pass within our building. It is a kind of a hallway management system that helps us try to limit the amount of class time and instructional time that our students are missing by going to the bathroom or going to get a drink or maybe meeting up with a friend or whatever it is. It's an automated system that allows us to run reports and allows us to track and give certain amounts of time. Our teachers have really embraced it. Our students are slowly coming along. Maybe they're not as excited, but we had a meeting last Wednesday where we talked about it, and I just wanted to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good has far outweighed the bad or the ugly. And I think it's a system that is not burdensome on the teacher as much as we were worried it was going to be, but really helps us to manage hallway traffic. And I think there's a different feel in the hallway when you walk through instructional time. You can tell there's less traffic, there's less noise in the hallway. It means kids are in class, which is
Mm-hmm. All right. Anybody have any questions, comments? All right. Thank you, guys. Great job. All right. On to consent agenda. Joshua, did you have anything you wanted to point out about that?
I think the biggest things I just want to point out on the consent agenda is obviously our graduation list. There may be some changes depending on this week. We got a few kids that are working hard, and we're working to make sure that we hopefully get them across the stage. The IJAG MOU, that is a nice, great program, and Derek kind of mentioned it when he was talking about the DCAP program. That is just a continuation. Basically, we get a full-time employee for a third of the cost. It is a grant as well as some state funding and those types of things. So it's a great opportunity for us to have an additional person here, and Mariah Bolton is serving in that position. And then obviously the second reading of the policies, that was just basically due to federal changes. So those are the things that I really wanted to point out in that consent agenda.
Okay. I will entertain a motion if there are no questions or comments.
So moved.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Hire, did you want to just talk about this a second before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. So last month, I presented to the board about the instructional support program. If you guys remember, that is a opportunity, you guys made a resolution to continue that for 5 years. This last year, we've had, I believe it was 390,000 approximately dollars that generated. And we use that through a combination of property tax and surtax. So last month, after I presented, you guys made a resolution to have a public hearing to then ultimately, I think, make an action that you guys would continue that pending on what the public hearing is tonight. So is that a recap kind of what happened last month?
All right, and with that, I will open the floor for the public hearing. Anybody has a comment? Okay, if there are none, I will close the public hearing. And what do you think, guys? I would entertain a recommendation to approve that.
I would make that motion to approve the resolution to continue participation in the instructional support program.
Second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. All right, classified staff retention bonuses. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is actually a really good thing that we weren't fully aware of, and we became aware of it about a month ago. But last year there was House File 2612, and that was really specifically with increasing teacher minimum salary rates. And with that, they added an additional $14 million for support staff. We identified and found out that $14 million, we received around $17,000 to help increase pay for our classified staff. So after finding that information out, we really looked at how do we get that, and ultimately we're making a recommendation tonight for them to get one-time bonuses. We're hopeful that legislation will continue to support and fund that, additional, and that we can continue to have these additional bonuses for our classified staff. But really, it would be on a case-by-case, year-by-year basis, depending on whether or not it is funded from the legislation. So ultimately, you guys can kind of see the criteria for whether they would receive a portion of that stipend, bonus, or a full stipend based off of really their longevity here. And their longevity would be, were they employed starting at the school year, or were they a partial year employee or not? So good news, we're able to pay our classified staff, which is a very important group. We're able to give them some additional money.
Yeah, that's great.
And how timely, I mean, when you're about to enter the summer.
Yeah,
and not
absolutely.
miss a couple paychecks.
That will be on their June pay. So June paycheck, pending your guys' approval tonight.
Right.
What did we do?
Yeah, awesome.
Second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor, Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. All right, on to school fees. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Heyer, these have not changed.
Yeah, so
correct?
annually, you guys just have to set our school fees, and Melissa and I looked, and we tried to do some comparatives and kind of look at where we are at in comparison to other schools. This does not include our meals for breakfast or lunch. We will take action on that at a later meeting. But based off of what we looked at, we are not making any recommendations for fee structure changes for the 25-26 school year. And continuing with what we have in place for 24-25 for our families.
All right.
I'll make a motion to keep our school fees the same as last year.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. All right, athletic eligibility waiver request. Do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, I'll kind of start, and then we have Jordan here. But the Iowa Department of Education, in partnership with the athletic associations, give schools guidelines and guidance and regulations for open enrollment. Jordan Crossman has requested and been approved for open enrollment to Gilbert. And what she is here tonight to speak on her behalf is whether or not we will waive the 90 days. The guidelines that the Athletic Association and the open enrollment say is that varsity athletes are ineligible for the first 90 days unless there is good cause. And the state of Iowa gives a number of reasons what would be good cause. One of them is that the Board of Associations from the resident and the receiving district both waived that 90 days. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage for you. And because it's an action item, Jordan has requested to speak on her behalf, and she's here tonight.
Hello, everyone. So, on December 1st, 2023, my life completely changed. As I went up for a layup and I suddenly heard it felt on my knee, I knew instantly it wasn't good. In just a few seconds, it has changed the next 2 years of my life. Tearing my ACL has always been one of my greatest fears when I first started playing basketball. And on this day, this fear became a reality. Basketball has been my life since I was a little kid. I instantly fell in love with the game the first time I touched the basketball. It was truly a natural to me and talent given by God. I knew at this point I wanted not to just be good, but great. I wanted my name to be known. I started putting in countless hours of work. I started shooting in the shop every night for hours, and I started AAU basketball, where I spent every weekend at basketball tournaments and at practices during the week. I was determined to be great. All while doing this, I was usually playing an in-season sport, either track, volleyball, or softball. It was a lot for a middle school kid, but it's what got me to where I am. Now you can somewhat understand how big basketball was in my life. I knew no life without it until I was injured. It was the most soul-crushing thing that has ever happened. Just a couple of games into the season, I was off to a great start. I was so excited to see what it would bring. Not knowing it would get taken away. The rehab was way harder than I thought it would be. Everyone thinks the hardest part is the physical part. Well, yes, it is hard. The hardest part is mentally. I was so physically drained. I lost all motivation to do anything. I went and supported my team, even though deep down I hated seeing everyone else get to play and get better while I sat. A day did not go by that I didn't have to worry about. I had to go to physical therapy 2 times a week, which also affected my school, since I was always gone so much. And the days I didn't have therapy, I had to do exercises. Along with all this, I had to learn how to use my muscles again and how to walk. The worst part is when you feel good and feel like you can play, and you can't. It was a very long 9 months. After recovering, gaining confidence back, and thinking all my work paid off, I had to live it all over again. At about 1 year later, only 2 weeks later from when I tore it the first time, it happened again. I knew exactly what happened, and all I remember was saying I can't do it again because I knew how hard it was. This time has been even harder. It has really impacted my mental health a lot. I've wanted to give up so many times and almost did, but here I am today, pushing through, doing everything I can just to play the game I love. I'm here today asking for one thing back from all this. An opportunity to reach my dreams of playing college basketball, enjoying playing basketball, high school basketball for one thing. Due to the state of the program and not even knowing if we'll have enough for a varsity team and lack of support from coaching staff, I believe that I will not be able to get the same opportunity here at Ogden, and I will attend. I have nothing against Ogden schools and my teammates as they have supported me through this, and I'm giving up a lot from the school, including friends, FFA, and graduating from the school I've gone to my whole life. To be able to get an opportunity as this just show how much I love it. This may be a long speech just to ask for one thing, but I think it's important to show you how much this means to me. So finally, I asked to please consider signing off the 90-day wait period so I am able to play a whole season of varsity basketball. Thank you.
I have a question. I move that we waive it.
Discuss a little bit.
Yeah.
Getting out our crystal ball is best we can. One of her best arguments, I thought, was the status of the team. There has been talk in the past that we have a junior varsity schedule only due to the number of participants, the age of the participants. Just looking the best that we can to our crystal ball. What's the pulse of the girls program as far as numbers, varsity schedule, JV schedules?
Yeah. The last time I checked with Reed, that we would not be able to do a JV and a varsity. We're hoping that if the 8th grade girls that we had out this year are able to return, that we will have enough numbers to be able to hopefully run a full varsity schedule and then maybe portions of a JV schedule, or maybe 6 quarters of that. So it's really dependent on how many of those girls continue to go out. And I don't have those 4 numbers.
I don't know if I have real much to say, other than I do want a conversation.
Yeah.
So,
This, I think, on a case-by-case basis, this one, to me, it makes total sense. I think I understand your pause of, are we making policy or are we doing it case by case? And I would hope moving forward this is done on a case by case basis and not treated as a blanket approval. I think metro schools deal with this a whole lot more than we do, and I'm sure they have very clear policy on how to deal with this. But I think in a school our size, we take it one person at a time, when the situation arises. And to me, yeah, this one fits, makes sense. And yeah, we're going to. I think as high school athletics evolves, we're going to see more issues like this, and it's something we need to look at as far as, are there district policies we need to have in place. But I hesitate to do that just from the standpoint of, I think these, in a school this size, I think it stays the case by case basis for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that whether you like it or not, you set a precedent. I mean, even if you don't intend to, you do. So I think that in order like to waive it, there would have to be a pretty good reason, and one that is unique. And I think Jordan made a really good point. She said that it's unclear if we'll have a viable basketball team. That's a decent point, isn't it? I mean,
if it's something we talk about.
I mean, I would hesitate just typically to waive it, to be honest with you, because I do think that whether you like it or not, it does set a precedent. And so we don't want to say to the community, oh yeah, wherever you want to go, that's fine. Go ahead. Yeah, we're gonna say so, right? And I think without a very good specific reason, I think you do set that precedent. So I guess I'm suggesting that maybe that reason makes this unique enough to where, the next person that comes in, well, you let Jordan go, we can say, well, that was kind of different because we weren't sure we would have a basketball team. We do know, do you get what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
It's not really pushback. It's just a comparative. Right now, from an academic standpoint, it's a complete open enroll state. I mean, any kid can go to any school as long as the receiving school accepts them. If they say I'm going for academics, but then when someone says I'm going for athletics, now we sit here and go, oh, what should we do?
Well, even when they go for academics, though, they still have to sit that period out.
Yes, but that's what
I mean, it's totally different. I think you're apples and oranges.
No, but I mean, if a kid says I'm going to this other school just because their academic program is better than ours,
yeah,
we wouldn't be sitting here going, oh, geez, I wonder what if we're setting precedent or not. I think we would, if you want to go to that district, you go to that district. But if we're talking
we did set a
for
precedent
athletics,
going, that's fine.
Say what?
I mean, there is pretty clear precedent on that across the state, though, and that's pretty much fine, right? I mean,
right.
This is a pretty clear.
That's what I'm saying is, why is academics completely fine for the kids to go to different schools, but athletics we sit here and have a pause. I'm not saying we're right or wrong on doing that. It's just, why do those two things so different in our minds?
Yeah.
And that's just a piece to think about for future policy, I think.
Yeah, I think from like the state's perspective, though, I mean, you can surely appreciate the mess that would make. I mean, I appreciate that they allow for a waiver, right? But like, if they didn't have this policy, that would be a huge mess. I mean, you would have people just bouncing all over the place randomly. I mean, you'd have recruiting.
Well, I think
You
they already have it. They just it just doesn't show up quite as public.
Yeah, I mean, you always have cheaters, right? That's fine.
Well, it'd
but
be much like the college.
Yeah,
and
yeah. But I mean, I think in order to mitigate that as best as you can, you have to have some type of, I mean, they obviously have this policy for a reason. And I don't disagree with them having it. You get what I mean? Furthermore, like I said, I do think that when you make decisions like this, I think whether you like it or not, I think it does set a precedent. Unless, like I said, you have a pretty extenuating reason that wouldn't apply to everybody else that walks in the door. Does that make sense? So I think, I guess my question is, do we have that exception? The point that Jordan's made. Do we have a case here where this is so extenuating that it would warrant a waiver? Yes or no? I guess is what the question is.
To me, it's a case by case, and in this case, I think it fits. People can agree or disagree with me. That's, but that's.
Well, yeah, but case by case, you still have to have a reason, right? Although, I mean, if you can't identify a reason, then I mean, that's going to look discriminatory too. So, I mean, especially like in this context, like, yeah, it is case by case. I agree with you. Like, obviously, it's case by case because here we are debating it, right? And on just Jordan's behalf. So, yeah, it's case by case, but I mean, you still have to identify, I think, a reason why.
Well, the reason why is that nobody can tell us who will have a basketball team. Is that
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm getting at.
It's that simple.
That's what I'm getting at.
So there's no guarantee. She wants to play ball. So
yeah, do you have a response to that? I mean,
we'll have a girls basketball program.
Okay.
Yeah. Will they be playing a varsity schedule? Like, I mean,
that is our intent.
So I'm torn. I was torn before we got here.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, I see this as if we do this time, what kind of floodgates are we going to unintentionally create a hornet's nest? So it's just a crap show. Students wanting to leave and just assume they're going to never stay there. So that's one side. The other side is individual Jordan's hard worker at the time would like to take her skills and talents to school, see if she can take advantage of that opportunity to its utmost. I'm all about kids wanting to aspire to their dreams and stuff, and I want to be an advocate for that as well. So I got it. Quite frankly, I'm torn because I think both sides of the spectrum are legitimate.
well, I think you do open the door. I mean, to answer your, suggestion, I think, yeah, you absolutely do. I guess that's why I'm saying if we're going to waive it, we just have to have a very good identifiable reason. That's specific. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if not, then everybody who walks in, well, I want to go to Boone and play baseball. Well, I want to go to, Greene County to play. What I mean, you know what I mean? Then we're kind of bound by, well, why don't I get to? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be in my opinion, there has to be a good reason.
Now, how much weight does the parent? For me, the parent has a lot more weight.
Yeah.
Than what a board says.
Well, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, you always want to honor what the parent wants, but but they get to make that decision regardless. We're not saying that they can't go to Gilbert. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just thinking about it's hard
Mm-hmm.
laws.
Yeah.
So do the math for me. It's 90 school days, right? Which, regardless of who it is, work is 90 days. What's the
Typically a
It's gonna be
semester.
middle of January.
world? Okay. Do you want to add your 2 cents worth? You have a recommendation on the table.
Yeah,
obviously, but
clearly it is the board's decision, and you guys need to make this per what it says in the good cause. It says that the Board of Education needs to, from the resident and the receiving district. If I were to make a recommendation, what precedent are we establishing? That is what I am offering.
which is definitely a consideration.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think to your point, Matt, you always want to do, I mean, I don't think any of us would not want to do what's best for Jordan, you know. And just to explain, I guess from my perspective, why this is even a question, because I could understand why, especially mom would be like, what's the big deal? Like, what? It's because, yeah, we want to do what's best for each individual student, right? But we also have to take a step back and do what's best for the entire district as well. So I think, like, for me personally, I just want to, like, get clear, like, I want to be sure that we're not doing something that will inevitably damage the district, because then that negatively impacts a whole lot more kids, you know, than just Jordan. So that's for me the question. I mean, I just don't want to open a can of worms that will negatively impact several more kids.
We're in business for academics here, and that's number one priority. These sports things are great, and the community loves them, but I don't. It is a
Yeah, but
secondary.
are you understanding though that, like, what?
Oh, I get
Matt's-
it.
Like, we're saying, like, people will be out the door then, and we pay these people based on our enrollment. So if all of a sudden we've got 27 people that are mad at our baseball coach and irritated at the basketball coach, and they're leaving now, if
It
we gotta let
already
them
is with
go,
club sports. I mean, club sports are
but they
killing,
still go to our school. They're still enrolled here, and we're still getting.
but they don't have to. They don't have to play ball here.
That's not it. That is not even. That doesn't even matter to me.
Okay.
Like, the sports part doesn't even matter. I'm talking about we lose those enrollment dollars. So if 25 athletes next month decided that they also want to go somewhere else, that's what times what 75. I mean, that's
8,000.
a lot of money that we. I mean, we at what point can we not operate? Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, I don't care. I am glad you love basketball. I'm not saying I don't care about basketball, but in this context, I don't. I don't care about basketball either. That's not the point. My point is we can't let droves of students out of here, and because we can't operate that way. So I just want to be sure that we're not.
So you're saying that you don't want her to go to Gilbert? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't want to set a precedent that will tie our hands and force us to allow anybody else also that walks in here that we'll have to also tell them yes. I hear you saying, well, it's a case by case basis, but to be honest with you, it can't be. Like, that's
Yeah,
that's
where I
that's
disagree.
discrimination. I mean, it just is. You have to have a pretty good reason why you're doing what you're doing. Like, you can't just be like, yep, I feel bad for you.
I
The answer is
agree.
yes.
I agree. And in this situation, there's a really good reason.
Yeah, but that's
And that's
kind
all
of
we
my
have
question.
to determine on the next one.
Yeah.
And if that's what
So
what
this,
this sheet says.
to me, this goes right back to our academics. I got on the board in 2013.
Mhm.
First thing I said was, we have to outperform every district we touch. That's how we grow the school.
Yeah.
Well, our sports program needs to do the same thing, and that ain't easy.
Yeah.
The academic thing is a whole lot simpler, and that's a huge huge thing to do. And it's not saying it's easy, but it's a whole lot easier than trying to grow a sports thing in any sport in this size district. Every district our size is fighting this. I mean, every district
Yeah.
that's not Ankeny or Waukee is fighting exactly what we're fighting.
Right.
And there's two ways we can do this. We can be protectionist and say we're not going to let anybody go unless there's some reason so obvious, or we can say, yeah, this one on this case makes total sense in this situation, and we'll deal with the next situation when it comes. Because I think we're on the front end of we're going to have more of these.
Right.
I don't think it matters.
But that's all I'm saying is that I'm not even advocating for no. I'm just saying that I just want to be sure though that we identify a very clear reason, because I'm just like, in this business, if we don't,
So
I
the
mean,
reason
you
we
really
open
open
enroll in
yourself up.
over 100 kids is because we
Yeah.
outperform our neighbors. So your
Right.
concern that I'm hearing is if we allow open enroll out for sports, we're going to lose a bunch of our population.
I'm saying without
I'll
a
be
good reason.
surprised.
Without a good reason.
Me too.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'll be surprised that there's that large of a number of students that want to go elsewhere just because of the sports.
Yeah,
When our academics are outperforming our neighbors.
and obviously I hope that. Like,
Yeah.
obviously I hope that. But I guess I just feel like you do have to consider the fact that could, you know what I mean? And I think you have to be prepared. And I just have to be honest, I always think you should have a good reason for anything you do anyway. And I do think that that is a significant reason. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a significant consideration,
So,
obviously.
point of order, there is a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, you motioned to what?
The motion would be that Jordan could bypass the 90 days or 90 days.
That would
Waive the
waive
90
the-
Waive.
So if
Mhm.
someone votes yes, that is to implement the waiver,
Yes. Waive the athletic eligibility waiving certificate.
just to be
Yeah.
very
Yes.
clear.
Yep.
And then to vote would be no, we're not going to extend the waiver.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you said yes, you would say, that's fine. She can play right off the bat, right? Yeah.
So basically, there is a law right now that she is ineligible for 90 days.
Mhm.
And what she is requesting is an exemption. So what I'm hearing you say is the motion would be to apply for that exemption. That exemption would allow her to be eligible.
She would still have to go through the Gilbert board, is that correct?
Yeah, so this is only one half of that. It says both resident and receiving districts. Yes, it does.
Which they would have. I can't think of the reason for
I can't speak for this.
Do you have anything else to add?
I'm
In the second.
still torn, but that's what it is.
I will second Earl's motion to waive the 90-day waiver.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Van Sickle.
It's case by case, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
if someone shows up a week from now, we evaluate that differently.
On its merits as they stand alone, is in my opinion.
Yes.
Yes. All right, let's move on to policy reviews.
Policy review, it's a 100 series, and again, we just review policies because these haven't been reviewed for, I think, 3 to 4 years, and we're just kind of going through ours. There really wasn't anything that stood out to me in these policies that we have in front of you tonight.
I will make the motion for first and final reading of said policies.
Second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Brian,
Okay.
I'm wondering if he's here to speak. No. Are you here to speak on? No. Okay.
All right, Jared Wilson.
I'm good.
Okay. Paul, Arsenal?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Melissa? Good. You good? And then Jordan. All right, work calendar. Nothing this month, I guess. Next month, summer.
We'll get those all ready to go on exactly what that looks like.
All right. And your turn, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, I'll make it short tonight. Obviously, kind of a big event on Sunday. So we have graduation starting at 2:30. I just want to confirm who will be in attendance.
I have a granddaughter.
Yeah,
Graduate.
Pete
Yep.
and the other Pete and Matt, right?
So do we need to maybe document, because we're going to have potentially 5 board members there. Would we need to publish anything?
We'll just publish a note that they'll
Yeah.
be in attendance, but
So let's
it's
just,
not an
because
official
of
meeting.
Pete, Matt, are you going to be
I
there on
will be
behalf?
there,
So
yeah.
4, and you got a granddaughter.
That's great. Musketeer.
so
Muscatine.
he'll be
Very
fine.
good.
Yeah.
But still, nonetheless,
We'll
4 of the
we'll
5.
quorum.
So let's make sure that we just document that. We'll,
Okay.
we'll get something posted there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good thought.
Yep. So just
Stay
wanted to.
away from each other.
Yeah. We'll make sure that we, but I'm excited for that. It should be a great event. Really, honestly, there's been a wealth of things that are taking place and activities over the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've had a great school year, and I'm so appreciative of our staff, support staff, our teachers, administrators, leadership team for all they did. The next couple of weeks will be extremely busy, but we're really trying to put a bow tie on a successful school year. Last thing that I actually just want to mention is a thank you to the Ogden Alumni Association. Obviously, they do the Bulldog Ball, but they gave us $13,000 for specifically to earmark for safety enhancements. And we're trying to address glass in the front entry areas and other things. There's some things as far as resistant glass or even a film that you can put on that would be bulletproof. I applied for a grant through the Leonard Good Trust, and they actually gave us $10,000. So between the $13,000 from the Ogden Alumni Association, the $10,000 from the Leonard Good, and then we are going to do some type of a co-match. We're going to be able to do a number of things to really just enhance the overall safety on both of our campuses and a number of strategic areas. So just wanted to, again, thank you to our community for supporting our school when it comes to safety efforts and initiatives. That's all I have for tonight.
Anybody? Anything? Are we?
So moved.
Second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yep.
Van Sickle,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Woo! I got one.
Okay.